Thank you all very much for coming. It's July the 20th of 2017, and this is the second time I've given this presentation here at Tsunami. I gave a talk previously, June 29th of this year, and I'm going to mention some things that have happened that go along with what I talked about before. But before I do that, I want to give a sense of where I see us in time astrologically, in addition to taking a look at the eclipse paths. In Chinese astrology, the election that occurred in 2016 was in the year of the monkey. This is associated with elections involving monkey business. And then it's interesting to note that the election of 1860, where Abraham Lincoln was elected, was also a monkey year election. And what we find then and now is the country divided. So even though we can see the division in the country, and you'll see a division actually of the single eclipse line when we get to that, but this is also an eclipse that unites us, because millions of people are going to come to be under this eclipse line over here. Nobody could bring this many Americans together for one common cause. It is my hope that this is only the beginning of people coming together. But now to get to our topic for tonight, I'd like to quote you from Hopi prophecy. Everything is coming to a time where prophecy and man's inability to live on earth in a spiritual way will come to a crossroads of great problems. This is the crossroads, a literal crossroads. The prophecy continues. If you are not spiritually connected to reality of how to live on earth, it's likely you won't make it. So this is a very significant time in American life. The image on the screen here is a global perspective of this eclipse of August 21st of this year, 2017. We start in the Pacific. Hawaii will, if they're lucky, they may get a little bit of partial eclipse viewing. But then it comes across here from the Pacific and crosses from here in Oregon, and then it continues across the country, exits here in Charleston, and then it continues out into the Atlantic off the coast of West Africa. We can go to the next slide. Now you can see here the path coming across. This is also shown up over there on the paper map. And what I found interesting about this is the eclipse comes through Lincoln City, Lincoln, Nebraska, southern Illinois, land of Lincoln, exits over Fort Sumter. And if we continue this, it's basically the route of the slave ships. So, in my opinion, this is significantly about the racial status of the United States. And in terms of between the time I gave this talk on June 29th and in this evening of July 20th, up here in Montana, not too far from the line, you may have heard that there was first a 5.8 and then a 4.0 earthquakes near a place called Lincoln, Montana. But after this eclipse is going to be, people go, oh, okay, well, everything just goes back to normal, baseball and apple pie, etc. But, we got another eclipse coming in 2024. This is the eclipse path of April 8 of 2024. The eclipse starts in the southern Pacific, comes through Mexico, and it crosses into the United States at Eagle Pass. And this is what I love about astrology. Everything is so incredibly symbolic. It's almost like it gets more symbolic. It's like the eagle is in the Mexican-American flag, and then it's commonly placed on, as an icon of the United States. And then, as you can see, it curves up through from Texas through Arkansas and continues this arc up into Maine, then out into northeastern Canada, and then continues out to the Atlantic. Notice this area: southern Illinois, southeastern Missouri, western Kentucky, northeastern Arkansas. We saw that before, didn't we? Okay, next slide. Now, this is where the two lines are crossing. It's basically like this diamond shape. And for the sake of the recording here, in case people can't see the map, is this includes Carbondale, Illinois, Hopkinsville, Kentucky. We're going to talk about that one in a moment. Poplar Bluff, that's where there was the 30-foot drop that I talked about in 1811, and other places like Union City. And we saw Camp Girardeau just below the Trail of Tears before. Next slide. This is the USGS map for areas of seismic hazard, with the highest hazards being in the magenta and then blending into red, etc. So, of course, we all know about here where we are on this coast, where the Ring of Fire goes right up the Pacific coast, Florence, etc., Lincoln City. But look at this significant area right here that includes New Madrid and comes down here. And then remember, the eclipse path comes across here to Carolina, to Charleston, another seismic unstable area. And here is the overlap of the eclipse path on top of the USGS map. Here, here, here. Now, as you've noticed from seeing the other eclipse paths, we don't know where the event is going to be in relation to the eclipse path. Might it be here on the Ring of Fire? Might it be here in what looks like high probability in the New Madrid area again? Or might it be down in Charleston? Next slide. Okay, FYI, these are all nuclear plants marked by the little black triangles, also known as tombstones. And you can see how many of them are in proximity. Remember what I said earlier before about the New Madrid quakes, is it shakes the ground considerably farther in the east. Not as much here. When you have a big quake here, it's basically regional, but a whole lot of shaking going on in these areas. And way back in 1912, Carl Jung told us, America does not see that it is in any danger, does not understand that it is facing its most tragic moment. It must make a choice to master its machines or be devoured by them. And that's the nukes. No nukes is good nukes. And here's another interesting map. These are not eclipse paths. These are seismic cracks that have been discovered. There's a 1,700-mile so-called crack across America. It starts actually in the Idaho mountains, but it's usually extended up to the Ring of Fire area around Port Angeles. And then it comes all the way down to the Appalachians, the Smoky Mountains area, Cherokee area there too. Then there's another crack that they discovered that basically comes down all the waterways from Canada and then comes down and crosses here in, guess what area? Notice also, all this is the United States. Canada's not involved. To the next one. Remember the image of Reelfoot Lake? This is the Reelfoot Rift. This is an area, when we saw that big red blob, this is a zoom of this. You can see there's New Madrid. There's the Kentucky-Tennessee border, western Kentucky, western Tennessee, Arkansas down here, and the Boot Heel of Missouri. And the Reelfoot Lake State Park is down here. In terms of, well, what happens when you have a magnitude 6.8, 6.7? Here in California, well, you have your primary area for this 94 quake in Southern California was in the red, and then secondarily it was the yellow area here. But look what would happen, what happened back in 1895 in the same area. Now, this was not anywhere near as big of a quake as what happened in 1811, 1812. That's just a 6.8. Next slide. Okay, well, in terms of the numbers, what the heck are these numbers? Now, I'll just run through this quickly, and thanks again for your patience this evening. But, 5.0 to 5.9, this is like what happened up in Montana, 5.8. It's like things fall off the shelves, so if it's glass, it breaks, and that kind of thing. But there actually can be liquefaction. That's when the Earth looks like it's water. The 8.0 to 8.9, like what happened in 2010 off the shore of Chile, you get knocked to the ground, you can only crawl. Water goes up in the air. And the big ones, 9.0 to 9.9, we had a 9.0 in Japan with the tsunami, and this was related to Fukushima in 2011. And the biggest one in the US is Alaska in 1964. That was a 9.4. And this is where you get major collapse and just far more extremes. Hi, I'm Dale O'Brien, and thanks for watching, thanks for listening. If you'd like to help out with what I've already shared and help me be able to share more videos and podcasts and such, please go to Patreon, and your donations are very welcome on a monthly basis or otherwise. Thanks.